Oof, oof, oof. Ha ha. What's up, y'all? Yeah, y'all see a little glimpse, a little boxing. You know what I mean? We been putting in that work. I ain't gonna lie with the gloves, man. We really. So every time I try to go to the gym, I try to get some boxing work done. I tell you, it's a cardio wise, man. It is tough, bro. I'd have to put it up there cardio wise with like anything, stairmasters, bike, treadmill. You pick whatever, man. Try to do 10 minutes of like full effort, just punching the bag, and bro, you are just out of breath. You're out of breath. Your muscles are sore, and you feel like you're gonna die. So yeah, man. But how y'all doing, man? It's another beautiful day. It's August 28th. It's Thursday. I had an easy day today. Went to the gym this morning. Did a little bit of chest incline. Um, did some stairmasters, boxing work, sauna. Morning was perfect. Then had to be out in the field for work today. Take some pictures for marketing. And then we came home. We had some leftovers from yesterday's cooking, so we had that, and that was great. And so right now, I'll be going on a brief study in about an hour or so with a Spanish gentleman from Guatemala. He's actually my brother-in-law's study, but he told me to take care of it because he got some car problems. So I'm like, cool, man, I got you, bro. So I'm gonna go with a friend of mine's. He's a very humble dude, man. He's been studying for a while. I met him for the first time just a few weeks ago, and I'm looking forward to it. So I'll tell you how it went tomorrow. But today, I think I really want to talk about a verse that I read. So us Jehovah's Witness, we have something called a daily text, which is basically something that we read every morning. At least we try to read, right? When we remember. And it's supposed to just get our day going. And sometimes, if you can't read it in the morning because you forgot, you try to catch it in the afternoon, last resort at night. But the goal of it is just to have a godly thought in mind for throughout the day. And today was 2 Corinthians 13:11. I'm going to read it to you guys and see what you guys think. We're going to talk about it a little bit. And I think at least it comforted me a lot, and I know it'll comfort a lot of you guys. So 2 Corinthians 13:11, it says, "Finally, brothers, continue to rejoice, to be readjusted, to be comforted, to think in agreement, to live peaceably, and the God of love and of peace will be with you." Man, when I read this verse, it really hit home because living peaceably, being in agreement, those are kind of two things that I've always tried to do in my life. Like I've hated tension. I've hated disagreements. I've always hated just beef between two parties. Like it's not been something that I'm comfortable with, like dealing with. I've always, if I have something with somebody, I'm always on high alert to try to see what can I do to fix it. It's hard for me to go to sleep knowing if my brother or my sister got something against me for what I did or what I said, right? So, and I think that stems a lot from my upbringing. I grew up in a lot of tension in my home. Not so much with my biological father because he left early when I was 7 or 6, but more with my stepfather. We lived to He was married to my mother for about 6 years, and in those 6 years, it was always a lot of tension, bro. Because he suffered from bipolar disorder and depression. Granted, he had a lot of messed up things happen to him in his life. His daughter passed away. He was in a civil war, and he's from Nicaragua. So he saw a lot of things. So you know, there's no. I mean, I guess there is a thing as justification for some of the things that ail you. I mean, he definitely had it, so I didn't blame him for any of it. But we were kind of you know, the victims of the kind of the backlash or the effects of those of having those things, right? So I always grew up with a lot of just always worried about what he was gonna say, what he would do, uh, just always being heavily criticized for not living up to some of the standards that he set forth on the household. So it was like walking on eggshells, man. You never knew what could set him off. Um, there'll be several times where homie would just leave if he had a heavy argument with my mother, usually stemming from either me or my sister. And homie would just leave for a week, 2, 3 weeks at a time. And homie just live in his car. I remember one time we saw him we were just we was preaching, and we saw him at Burger King. Like homie, he looked legit homeless, and homie was just there like chilling, and that's when we knew like, man, this is something wrong here. So he eventually got help and all that, but he wasn't really regular with the medicines. Either way, I say all this tangent to explain why I am the way I am, because I lived through periods of just I guess you could say not turmoil, but just heavy tension. And I keep repeating that word because the only word that I can use to describe that period of my life. So now as an adult, I try to avoid that as much as possible. And I think this verse, it just goes in alignment with trying to be people that are peaceable, people that are in agreement. And even when it comes to topics or conversations in which you might not agree with the other person, your significant other, your family members, your friends, your strangers, but do you keep are you respectful in keeping the peace and agreeing to disagree, right? Not saying any harsh words, not being overly disrespectful, not saying anything that would trigger them with malintent. Like people know, with what intentions you're saying something. Are you trying to prove a point to hurt the other person, or are you, with what motive? Is the argument or debate taking place with? And God can see all of our hearts, and He sees, what at what angle we're trying to go to. So I think for me, it's always just trying to be someone authentic, someone pure-hearted, someone trying to not only look out for my own well-being, but think about others and how they feel, and how they are being in any given situation. So I'm trying to definitely always put that in practice, man. And it says here, continue to rejoice and to be readjusted. So there's always room for improvement, and there's always room to change and to become a better version of yourself. You were a certain way today, but doesn't mean you got to be the exact same way tomorrow if you find room for improvement. And so that's a big thing for me. So a lot of times I put barriers in front of myself, like just in my mind, like, yeah, I can't do that, or I can't do that, or I'm imperfect, or I got these temptations, I got this, I struggle with this. Like, we as human beings always like to make a lot of excuses, and I, for one, I know I do. So it's just always just trying to be mindful that we can always change and always strive to be better. So yeah, man, that's just kind of the verse that I wanted to touch. And the last part is, man, the God of love and of peace will be with you. So if we try to put these things into effect, Jehovah God, He's going to be with us, man, every step of the way. And the only moments that He won't be is if we push Him away. That's really the only thing that can separate our love for Him. Because we know that from His vantage point, He'll never do that to us. We are His children, and He loves us wholeheartedly, unconditionally. So let's just always be reminded of that. But yeah, man, thank you guys for tuning in. That's kind of what I wanted to talk about a little bit today. I'm trying to vary these videos a little bit of some spiritual topics, just other topics that are just common, cooking, sports, it's just trying to be as real as possible in my own setting of life, so I appreciate you guys tuning in, and I'll definitely check in tomorrow.